where kingdom greetings and God's richest blessings be multiplied to you and to yours. You're tuned into another segment of Healing Our Land's live, interactive, worldwide broadcast exclusively here on the Boston Praise Radio ONTV Network. I'm your host, Pastor Hobbs, live here in the studio with my special guest, my friend and brother, David Baxter. How are you, sir? Welcome.
What's going on, Pastor Hobbs? How you doing? How you doing?
I am well, brother. How are you?
Blessed.
Amen.
Tends to be the word I use these days.
Hey, man, you're looking blessed and highly favored, man. And we just so appreciate you taking time, out of your busy schedule to be with us here on Healing Our Land's broadcast on Boston Praise Radio ONTV Network. And so I'm going to jump right into it and give it to you for you to be able just to, for you to introduce yourself to our listening and our viewing audience and share with them. I mean, I have your bio and I'll share some of that and we'll talk about, but I want you to talk just from you to our listening and viewing audience and to share with them what you choose to share, what you want them to know about who is David Baxter and some of your story that brought you to where you are today.
Wow.
That's a lot, right?
That's a
open.
That's a huge umbrella.
It is.
That's about 4 TED Talks.
Okay, I already know. Well, let's get in. We'll just play it by you.
All right. Well, as you stated, my name is David Baxter, and as you introduced me, I am a returning citizen. And what that means is I'm a formerly incarcerated individual. I was incarcerated in the Massachusetts prison system. I did exactly 19 years. I mean, if I had to describe me, I am a man of faith now. Mm-hmm. Wasn't before I went to prison. My story is one of pain, trauma, betrayal, but it's also one of triumph and overcoming. Mm-hmm. Becoming a man who took his pain and turned it into purpose.
Beautiful.
So what led me here today is, sometimes what I've come to realize is sometimes when we're going through a hardship, we don't understand what the lesson is.
That's right. So
people often be like, David, wow, you went through all that, man. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I'd be like, I'm thankful for it. Yeah. And they look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Because I understand different now than what I understood 15, 20, or even 12 years ago or 10 years ago, that I had to go through that to become the man that I am.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes God doesn't show you the outcome. Because if he did, most people wouldn't want what they asked for.
It's real talk.
We pray for these things, we do these things, but if God said, yes, I'm going to give this to you, but you're going to have to go through this. Yeah. The average person would be like, nah, never mind.
Real talk.
Right, nah. So we don't see it. So we got to, so I realized I didn't go through it. I grew through it. And I went through it. Mm-hmm. And I discovered my passion for organizing, community upliftment while I was incarcerated. Mm-hmm. And I began to organize while I was incarcerated. I began to build relationship with city and state leaders. Mm-hmm. And they began to come behind the wall. So this started long before I reached the free world. Mm-hmm. I was organizing restorative justice events, cultural events, me and Mac Hudson, and we would bring community members such as yourself, senators, state leaders, reps, city councilors, and just everyday community organizers and community people behind the wall to support these cultural events. Because I understood the power of a person understanding who they are, whether they be Italian, whether they be of the Latinx descendant, whether they be African American. A lot of us don't know who we are, and therefore we adapt a culture, whether it be a culture of gangsterism or anything else, thinking that is who our natural selves are. And it's really not. And you're talking to a person who adapted that culture 100% and was willing to give his life for it at one point, but who now dedicates his life to speaking out against that.
So I'm curious, some of the backstory. How did you where were you born, like siblings? Yes. And like, how did you ultimately what was your journey to ultimately become incarcerated?
Wow. All right. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I came of age during the violent crack era. And I ain't talking about this gentrified New York you see now. I'm talking 80s crack era, lawless New York, 2,000 murders a year in New York, like really bad. Like, it was bad. Yeah. And I grew up in the projects in Bedford-Stuyvesant in Brooklyn, 3 siblings, 2 brothers, 1 sister. And, And then I speak about it in my TED Talk, how in my neighborhood, there were no father figures.
Come on.
I mean,
Yeah.
like I see me and my brothers and my friends, actual childhood friends, sit back and think. We be like, we can only name like 2 people who actually, this is a whole project. I'm like, who had their father? Nobody had their father. Wow. It was bad.
So did you, was your father, you didn't know him? He wasn't in your life?
My father, I have memories of my father at a very young age. I'm talking about single digits. He left a long time ago. He was fighting his own demons. I understand that now. Like, we have a relationship now because I understand the power of forgiveness. Took me, that's a whole nother talk we can get into in a minute. But coming of age, so the only thing we had to look forward to was, look to for what an example of what manhood was the gangsters, the drug dealers, and so that's what we saw every day. So that's what we aspired to be. Yeah. And I gravitated more towards the hustlers and the gangsters because I believe those are 2 different things. You can have a mixture in one, but, and I manifested what I ultimately wanted to become, which was the biggest drug dealer that my neighborhood ever saw. And that's exactly what I became. And that's why the title of my TED Talk is From Kingpin to Community Leader, because I ultimately grew to become that, just that. I built an organization that sold drugs in 4 different states up and down the East Coast. And I was ultimately indicted for that. So from roughly 1998 up until my arrest in my mid-20s, I ran an organization, a high-level drug operation. And I was ultimately indicted by the state and federal government, and I was given a 55-year prison sentence.
Wow. 55 years.
For living that lifestyle, for a list of charges. And I went to jail, man. When I went to prison, I was young. And I was bitter, Hobbs. I was mad. I couldn't believe they gave a young man, like I believe people should pay for whatever they do. But we're talking about a young man who was in school, who had no record. You don't give a young 25-year-old man the rest of his life in prison for that. And I'm not justifying no crimes. I'm just saying you just don't do that. So when I went to prison, I was acting up, of course. I found love, and I found what I thought was safety in gang life. And then I not only adapted gang life, I took over the gang culture while I was in prison. So that was a whole nother chapter of my life. Just a bunch of trauma in there. You know what I mean? And I understood the art of communication and art of people. And that has served me well throughout my life. It's just that I've used it in the past for negative reasons.
Sure.
That's why I would like to believe I'm great at what I do now.
Yeah.
It took someone like Mac Hudson to grab me and be like, listen, brother, you have this gift of leadership. You have all these people who follow you. You can use that to uplift your community. You can use that for the greater good of our society.
So you met him in prison?
Yes.
And he taught you that in prison?
In prison.
Wow.
He was the only
the
one.
father figure, kind of big brother, who kind of helped you recognize your skill, your gifts, but how to use them in a positive way.
And he was and still is my big bro. Talk to him today. He just celebrated a birthday. Happy birthday, Mac.
Happy birthday,
and
Mac.
Yes, he was an intricate part, him and Minister Randy, into my development.
Randy Muhammad.
Yes, and to understanding my role as a black man in America. See, here's the thing, Pastor Hobbs. Once you become educated, and I'm not talking about institutional educated, a Harvard, like a Northeastern University. I'm talking about a different education.
Yes.
I'm talking about what I had the privilege to sit face to face with
Randy?
No, with
Max? Who?
Professor from Harvard.
I know you think about
I
got his name right.
He ever see me, he gonna be like, damn, brother. Cornell West. And he's talked about the process of deniggerizing. And what he meant by that is shaking a mentality. And that's what Matt was talking about. Just a different way. So I had to undergo a different education that I did not know to understand the systems of America was designed to trap young black men like myself. And I tell people, once that veil of ignorance is lifted, it's hard to pull it back down and still continue to do ignorant. Because your conscience start to mess with you now. The God in you start talking like, you know better, brother. What are you doing? So once I underwent that deep education, I developed a mindset that ultimately rejected criminality. And I could never harm another brother that looked like me. I don't care what he rep, what block he from. I started to see the stupidity in this and how it was systematically designed for us. And it was like what I call an aha moment or a light bulb moment. So I had to step away. I had to make a decision. I had to, so ultimately I found the courage, the strength, because it's not easy.
It's not easy.
Peer pressure is real. Not only in your teens, in your 20s and 30s, depending on who you, it is real. People worry about what other people think. And that can be a very, very bad thing. So ultimately I developed the strength and the mindset to step up and step out of that life.
And how did you do that practically? So I know you had people, you had support, obviously, like your mentor.
Well, yes, I have my support, but at the end of the day, you got to understand, at the end of the day, this coach I'm at the apex of it. So nobody really can. But at the same time, you feel responsible.
Okay, the responsibility.
Because what do you tell a brother who says, "How you leaving?" and you brought me into it, and you like, "Oh wow," and you try to explain to them, but they don't hear it because they can't see through the life through your lens. They didn't undergo the education you went through. They didn't undergo the process of self-development. So I started to work on myself. That's what it was. And restorative justice was another huge part in me understanding myself, understanding my emotions, cognitive behavioral theory. I had a wonderful teacher in there named Katie. She was a clinician who started helping me understand my emotions, the difference between a secondary emotion and primary emotion, which is the underpinnings of CBT. And that was like, whoa. CBT, cognitive behavioral theory.
Okay.
That is everything with the brain. It helps you. It's really to develop, the understanding of emotions. For one thing. And that helped me tremendously. That's not Derek Washington.
Yes, sir. We want to go on the air? Okay. So that's a brother who wants to listen to you a little bit more, and then that's my brother Jamal Crawford, I believe, who wants to chime in the conversation in a moment, but he wants to hold on just a moment. So continue what you were saying, brother, about the phones are blowing up. Talk a little bit more about the cognitive, the CBT.
Right, and
Hello.
we're waiting for Derek Washington to call.
Yes. Oh, just a moment. Put your live on the air. That's him.
And brother Derek.
Hey, how's it going? This is Derek Washington.
How you doing? Ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to get back to what we was talking about. The brother on the phone is my brother, none other than Derek Washington. He's currently incarcerated. He's calling in to speak about the No Longer 3/5 coalition that we co-founded, and he's going to speak to the work we've been doing and what we are doing. And I will follow up and finish once he's off the air. So Derek, why don't you take it from here, introduce yourself, who you are, what you into, and and give the audiences, which is a wide variety of audience, explain what it is we're doing in the wall and behind the wall and out here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's an honor to be on this platform right now. My name is Derek Washington. I've been incarcerated for 18 and a half years, and we're just looking for representation in the best way we can. In here, I've started this organization to give brothers a voice. If you all don't know, prisons are typically graveyards of exclusion. So when I first started looking at how we can get representation and how we can get heard, it was like, what can I do to make sure that brothers' voices are heard on the outside? So we started something initially called Emancipation Initiative. I got the name Emancipation Initiative because I was reading this Malcolm X quote one time, and in fact, it was Marcus Garvey. He said, "Intelligence rules the world while ignorance carries the burden." And I was just looking at my situation, and it was like, why am I here? Why do these people have so much power over me? Why can't we be heard? So I started looking at the Constitution, and then I started going through the different amendments, and then I got to the 13th Amendment. And the 13th Amendment read, abolish slavery or involuntary servitude, except for forced labor as punishment for a crime. So at the time, I don't know how many other people knew this, but I'm not used to reading except like EXCEPT. I'm used to thinking about it as ACCEPT. So I look up the word except, and except it said to exclude. I'm like, to exclude? Okay, well, forced labor as punishment for a crime, except for forced labor as punishment for a crime. I'm like, so does that mean that I'm a slave? I'm like, nah, I can't be a slave. But it says except. So now I'm looking at this exception clause, and it just really started rattling my mind about what slavery is. So I started reading about my history, started reading about the antebellum South and Reconstruction and the different origins of the constitutional amendments and how they came about. So when I looked at how we went from slavery to mass incarceration, and we never got 40 acres or a mule. So I'm like, we never got any emancipation proclamation or any type of goods from our past hardship. So I said, we need to start an initiative. So let's call this Emancipation Initiative. Emancipation Initiative is individual actors, individuals, groups, or organizations just taking an initiative to address whatever inequities they see in their community, see within their schools, within their workplaces, within society in general. But we have to start our initiative inside these graveyards of exclusion where we don't have a voice. And there's plenty of inequities. There's plenty of harm. There's plenty of humanity in here that's not seen or recognized as being human. So how can we reach out? And I'm like, we're not in the age of mass rebellion and overthrow this. It's like, no, we have to stay in bounds of our rule of law. So then I started looking at voting rights. Start looking at what voting is. I've been incarcerated since 19, 20 years old, so I've never had a chance to pick the people who make the laws that govern the society or the institutions that keep me in a cage every night. So that means I live in a society that doesn't reflect my imagination. So me, my brother David, a few other brothers inside the joint, we really started being proactive and just peer-based activism, passing out flyers inside these institutions and telling people to reach out to their families and letting them know about different elections that's going on, the different candidates who serve different interests, because there's a lot of lack of information inside these places. A lot of brothers are good brothers, very intelligent brothers, but never had anybody who believed in them or seen value or worth in them. So it's incumbent upon us to show them, like, listen, we desire for you as we desire for ourselves, and you're beautiful. And David, how'd you feel when you started first realizing your worth and your beauty and having somebody believe in you when society has done everything polar opposite to that? How did that make you feel when brothers first approached you and you just started learning about different things from your society? I just want to ask you that question before I move forward, because I think that's important, because people have to realize their self-worth before they can move forward to contribute to people outside of themselves.
Well, brother, it's funny you brought that up, because me and Pastor Hobbs was just talking about, we was going through my personal journey, and I was telling him that exact same thing. I had to undergo a different education for me to change. Like, I was warped into this subculture of gangsterism that was given to us. Then they stepped back and prosecuted us. So I was telling him how Mac and Minister Randy were the first ones to be like, brother, you are the original, you are the original men of the earth, brother. You have a duty as a black man to your family, to your community, and you start to learn about all these systems in place that was designed to trap young black men like you and me. This is exactly what we was just talking about as you called in, and you learned about a society, a country, a world that systematically eliminated our leaders because they feared our unity and our self-love, who worked overtime 80 hours a week to erase our history. You have to ask yourself why. Why is that so important? Because they understood the power of knowing who you are and your ancestry and where you come from. And you're 100%, brother. And I told him, I'll give the floor back to you, like once the veil of ignorance is lifted, it's impossible to put it back down. I can no longer harm a young brother that look like me. Whether he's from another block, or red, blue, green, that's not the life I live. And I took that same organizational skill, that same influence, and I've been doing, and I dedicated my life to serving others. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
And that's the beauty about that. It's like when I told you, when I read that Marcus Garvey quote that said, intelligence rules the world while ignorance carries the burden. It was, I didn't really, as I told you, I couldn't really differentiate the two different versions of accept, ACCEPT or EXCEPT. When I had looked up the word ignorance, I thought it just meant dumb and stupid. That's what I thought it meant. So I had my American Heritage Dictionary, and I looked up the word ignorance, and it said having a lack of knowledge or education.
Exactly.
So I said, intelligence rules the world while ignorance carries the burden. So I'm just looking at my lifestyle and just some of the things that I held to be true in my life, just the principles, the cultural awareness, and the lack of cultural awareness, but the habits of a particular culture that I was immersed in, and just is like, damn, I'm suffering from a level of ignorance that I gotta rise above. And it's like, once you realize everything that you thought to be true and to be real was based on a lie, you have to you have to renew your entire history.
That's right.
You have to relearn yourself. That's why they
That's
say
right.
giving birth. You gave birth to a new you. You were born. You may have been born at 28 years old or 35 years old or 45 years old. But once you give birth to a new you,
born again,
then everything around you begins to blossom.
That is true.
And that's how it was for me. So we started our No Longer 3/5 coalition, and that was about giving birth to a new sense of humanity behind the walls, where it's like, nah, it's not whips and chains anymore. But we're not property of the state. We're no longer 3/5. We need to be able to participate in the political process and pick the people who make the laws that govern these institutions, because the people in these institutions deserve to be heard. They deserve to have their voice listened to. They deserve for the policies to reflect the humanity that's within these places. Because once we're able to do that, then you know what's going to happen? Representatives and elected officials are going to start coming into these places. Why? Because they want your vote. You now become a stakeholder. They're now looking at the water you drink, the food you eat, the uniform Caucasian officers who govern over a population of black and brown people on a day-to-day basis. They're looking at all of that. And little by little, we're going to be able to shift not only the representation of cities and towns, but the political anatomy of the entire state. But first we have to recognize that, no, we're no longer 3/5. 3/5 has a historical context for those who don't know.
Right. But
3/5 were what enslaved people were called prior to the 13th Amendment, 1865. Everybody has a misconception that enslaved people were freed after Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, but that only had freed the enslaved people. And I say enslaved people, a lot of people say slaves, but I say enslaved people because to say slaves is to take the humanity out of the person, just like how people say inmates. Like, no, we're not inmates. We're human beings. We're incarcerated people. So I say enslaved people,
Right.
just for a language, just for a language check, and people are aware. So they don't say, oh, why does he keep saying incarcerated people and enslaved people?
So,
But
Derek,
so
so what is the goal of emancipation for time's sake? What is the goal? What are we setting out to do in society currently? Because we're about to run a What are you asking of the how many people in this radio?
We can't even quantify it, but it's a lot.
What is no longer 3/5 asking as the founder? What are we asking? What are we doing tomorrow? What are we gearing up? What is the purpose?
So we're striving to onboard all interested persons to participate in this statewide movement to amend the state's constitution to allow incarcerated people to vote.
Yes.
Universal incarcerated suffrage, allowing us to be able to also pick the people who govern our neighborhoods and our communities that we're going to be returning to, because that's what the society we live in, a representative form of society in which we have no representation.
Right.
So we're striving to get full participation throughout every city and town. And it's a statewide agenda, but for every agenda there's an objective. So the agenda right now is to spread awareness, to make sure that folks are sharing this information with their neighbors and letting them know that we're embarking upon this journey in this short window of September, October, and November to amend our state constitution through a citizen ballot initiative and to be successful.
Mm-hmm. And when you say a ballot initiative, you mean we need boots on ground, community members, organizations that help collect signatures. Is that what you're talking?
Exactly. Boots on ground, canvassing, paper, pen in hand. I know it's been 110 degrees out there lately, so bring some Dasani or Poland Spring or something. But hopefully by that time it's a little cooled down. It's going into the fall season. So yeah, we just want passionate brothers and sisters out there and just advocating for their brothers and sisters behind the wall, because people bring out the best in people, and we need y'all just as much as you need us. And when I say you need us, it's like, as I said, people bring out the best in people. And I feel like the best medicine to be successful in our goals is love. So when we start translating that love through our actions, then I think we'll be successful, whether we're not successful in formally passing this ballot question. But we'll be successful in the future in accomplishing other goals.
That's what's up.
Outstanding. Wow, what I so appreciate the brother calling from behind the wall. We always appreciate it's beautiful to have people who been behind the wall like yourself, who have come from society, who are now thriving and doing well. But we really appreciate you being able to bring in the voice from brothers who are yet still behind the wall speaking. And so we are in big support of this, and I encourage people we are the third state in the country to move this constitutional amendment, because it takes a constitutional amendment to restore voting rights for felons here in the state of Massachusetts. And my understanding is we had it up until 2000. And I believe as a result of a lot of the advocacy from people behind the walls, like the African American Coalition Committee at MCI Norfolk, as a result of the impact, that was the reason why that was stripped from them, because of the impact. So we're at a critical point right now that this piece of legislation, and it was written largely by people from the African American Coalition Committee with State Representative Russell Holmes, I believe. And so again, it's moved with the third state in the entire country to move this piece of legislation for felony reenfranchisement to the constitutional amendment agenda.
Right. And you still there, right, Derek?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, so yes, you're 100% right, but I want to just differentiate what we're talking about here.
Okay.
We have the legislative aspect of it, which is beautiful, and we're behind that 100%.
Okay.
And that's the legislative
You have
process.
1 minute left.
But then we have the no longer 3/5 is going the ballot initiative route. Oh. That's to circumvent. Because truthfully, myself, I have lost faith in the political body.
Okay.
Because we went that route already, putting our faith. That was what sparked the 2019 ballot initiative out of frustration. Derek, Rachel, Corey, and us, we was frustrated because we was led to believe that it would be successful, and it wasn't. So we did an impromptu effort in 2019. We got close to, I think, 35,000 signatures. That's just an impromptu effort, not never knowing what is going on, not never doing it before, and you wouldn't believe the systemic barriers that are in place for that not to happen.
I would believe
it. You know what? Look who I'm talking to. Yes,
unfortunately,
it is amazing.
Yeah.
The signatures, like I think about 8,000 signatures got thrown out over the most frivolous, what's the name? But we fell short. But I had to tell my colleagues, like, don't get discouraged.
Yeah.
We went to school. Look at that as school.
That's right.
We went to the gym.
That's right.
Thank you for using.
So it's the way we have to look at it.
Goodbye.
Life is about perspective.
That's right.
Oh, we failed. We didn't fail.
No.
We went to the gym. Our muscles are bigger now. We have the know-how. We know the barriers. So this time we can be successful.
Yes.
And I had to, that's my job as a leader. Like, listen, don't worry about it.
Yes.
Next time we got them. Next time I'll be home because I was back in the world. And next time more people will be home and we'll be able to gear up and do this time. Wow. So what we're doing is, what my brother Derek was asking you and your viewers is, we're organizing.
Okay.
The No Longer 3/5 is like an umbrella. Coalition is a group of organizations and individual activists and individual people throughout the state, from east to west and north to south, who have collectively came together under that name to work on the statewide ballot initiative. I think this year we have to do 76,000 signatures, and you can only get 25% from each county. So I'm going to unpack it a little bit. So we need boots on ground to collect those signatures. So we're recruiting religious-based, faith, Jewish, Christian, whatever the case may be, the brother on the corner to your sister's brothers. We need boots on ground because you have a small window to do this, and it's not an easy task.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you making the distinction because I did not understand the distinction, and I think that it's good that it's a multi-pronged approach.
Yes.
Right? So let's go both angles, right?
But you are right. When you're in the legislature and you hear something goes to the committee, that's just a fancy way of saying your bill's going to die. So that's what happened last time. So for the first time, it did come out of committee today, which is a huge accomplishment to the hard work of those in the legislature and the advocates of people like us who was pushing and working with them. So that's a huge, the third state to do that, like you said, to do that. Yeah. So now we have great individuals working on
Boston Patriot TV Network.
We have great individuals working with the legislators to see what the next steps are for that happen.
Is Derek Washington? Yes, hold on. I think he's back.
So we're working with that. So we are trying to.
I'm back, brother.
All right. So we are trying to circumvent going to the legislature, because I believe once you get the signatures, you only need 25% of the legislature instead of the full body. Because it's not easy. Not every legislator on that Beacon Hill wants that.
That's right.
For our reason. So now when we're talking about 3/5, the 3/5 clause regulated black people down to the status of cattle and pigs.
Yes.
So what the slave states would do is take the total population, say if it was 30,000 slaves in, say, Tennessee, for example, they would count 3/5 of that 30,000 towards the voting, towards the population. So what that did was give slaveholding states more power, more legislative seats in the Senate and Congress, and I mean more electoral votes. I mean, so, but they denied the slaves to participate in the political process that affected them, that directly affected their lives on an everyday basis. But they counted their bodies. Now, doesn't that sound awfully familiar? In 2000, here we are in 2023. The prison population is counted.
Yeah, in the census.
Because for each seat there has to be a certain amount of people in each district. So they count the body, deny them participation in the political process. What's the difference? Enslaved, like my brother said. Yeah. So if you support that, then you're supporting the remnants of slavery, I say. That is my argument. If you sit in that legislative building and you say incarcerated people shouldn't
vote,
have the process, shouldn't have the right to vote, you're saying I believe in the 3/5 clause of the 1800s and the 1700s and whatever. In my opinion.
Yes, I agree.
In my opinion, you're saying that because those draconian policies are all the same.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did during slavery. That's what they're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
We have to wake up, Massachusetts. We have to do better. D, you got anything to say in closing?
Yeah, I think it's really important that people really just realize the scope to what voting is. I know a lot of incarcerated folks in here with me, when they think about voting, they think more so in terms of Donald Trump and Joe Biden and these national elections, which is a beautiful thing, and they definitely matter.
That's right.
But we're looking at the people who make the speed limit and school policies and education and employment and local elections. Like, right now I'm going up for a stay of execution for release right now because we just discovered that the prosecutor in my case was engaged in malicious prosecution, withholding exculpatory evidence. And it's like, when you look at it, DAs are elected positions.
Mm-hmm.
They're elected officials. So it's like, if you're a DA in a particular county or whatever, it's not to be conviction chasing. A DA is a minister of justice. So how can we have justice if you don't reflect the people who put you in that position? So it's like, we're not just voting just to say, okay, we voted or whatever, but we live in a representative form of government, which means it's a government that executed through elected officials, well, through the people, but executed through our elected officials, which it's a government by you. So if we're out, as my brother was just saying, with the no longer 3/5 clause, it's like they used to count us as 3/5 of a human. For every 3 people, it makes up a whole human in their eyes. And they're still counting us in these different counties. They're getting grant money for our numbers and that these prisons are located in, and they're getting all type of benefits for our bodies. But we don't get any representation for that. So I feel like
let's get out.
us being able to participate in the political process is a domino effect to really cure a lot of the harms that lead people into these places. My son graduated 2 weeks ago. I don't even know him. My grandmother passed a year ago. She raised me. So it's like, these things are happening and people are being harmed, but we don't have no way to cure that unless we're allowed to vote. We're allowed access to the ballot. So in addition to the historical context of voting and the no longer 3/5 name, there's a lot of modern things that we can help make better right now by us all getting on board and being a part of this movement, because to invest into the individuals in these spaces is to invest into society. So I just appreciate for everybody being in tune and, even hearing us out. I'm in the joint right now. I'm in the unit right now. Guys are dealing with idle time. They say idle time is the devil's playground. Some guys is over here playing poker. Another guy is braiding another guy's hair over here. Another guy's at the desk arguing with the CEO for I don't know what. I'm over here trying to be mindful that other people need to use the phone after me, because I know there's only 8 phones in the unit, but there's 80 people who need to use them. So these are the conditions that we're in. But in order to better these conditions, as I said, we need people coming in here looking into these graveyards of exclusion to show, like, okay, what can we do with our taxpayer dollars to make sure that these people who are in here are coming out better than what they came in. It wasn't long ago, some young brother, unfortunately, it was really sad, young brother, 12-year-old, on the news, they said he got killed by, I don't know if it's a stray bullet or intentional or what.
That's the other day.
But it's like, you got a lot of leaders in here who can talk to people out there to quell some of the gun violence. to put a stop to some of the harm that's happening in our community.
Right.
You have brothers in here with influence.
Right.
But it's like these brothers are so detached from the world that we grew up in into this world of exclusion. When most individuals come out, they just fall right back into that lifestyle.
Right.
So we need to create these bridges between the criminal punishment system and the community.
Right.
So it can be a sense of justice.
Right.
And that happens through voting. That happens to bringing the community, keeping the community in tune to what happens inside of these places, allowing family visits to be more frequent, to be more hospitable,
right?
And just to eventually dismantle these institutions, because these institutions do no good at all.
Right.
Fortunately, I was able to connect with some really good brothers and have some determination and ambition to engage myself in some activities, but that's not the majority.
Right. AD.
That's not the majority by far.
Right.
So I'm just appreciative to be able to share this information with folks and, to be able to have these conversations, because it's important that we all engage these conversations and engage these activities.
Yep. That is very much true, brother. Well, we got a list of other callers, brother. We appreciate you calling in. And I'll shout the website out so people go to No Longer 3/5 organization.org. I don't know if I quoted it right, but I will before unless you know it off head. but I'll go on my phone and get it off. But we got more callers, brother. I appreciate you sharing this time.
It's an honor. I appreciate y'all. Y'all continue doing what y'all doing. It was a beautiful thing, and let's do this again.
Once again, Derek Washington, brother, a humble servant of the people.
Thank you, brother.
Peace.
Wow. No, Jamal is on the phone, and brother Jamal Crawford. This is a community brother who's big supporter. So I don't know if you wanted to weigh in, brother Jamal. You anything that you wanted to add to the conversation?
Well, peace. At this point, just tuning in. I just want to give my contact information offline to the brothers and whatnot. And if I could be of service, one thing I'm gonna say is that beautiful thing is that when folks come into knowledge, folks mention, Malcolm, folks mention, Marcus Garvey. That to me is a testament, much like you in the church life, right? People's lives are changed when they encounter Jesus, right?
Yes.
In my world, people's lives are changed when they encounter black consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to bolster that and say to both of these brothers, both inside and the brother that's there with you tonight, there's a slew of some more information, and I want to see what you already know, and hopefully we can get some more stuff and we can learn more together. And I'd like to plug you into some people that I know, both inside and outside, who could be helpful on all of these missions.
Right. Yes, brother, we can always do that, man. I'm a humble servant, man. Education is key, man. And I try to keep my mental sharp with not only self-knowledge and then black consciousness, but also institutional education. You know what I mean? So I have degrees. I mean, I have that aspect of it. But I think when you have a knowledge of self, it helps you put institutional education in perspective. Because I was in college before I went to prison. I went to NYU, and I was a DeVry University also a student when I was arrested. But I didn't appreciate it. But by the time I came into Emerson's College, I'm a graduate of Emerson College's EPI program. That's Emerson's Prison Initiative. It was founded by Manisha Gilman. And that woman gave me a second chance at receiving my degree. You know what I mean? I can't tell you how much of a blessing she has been to me and so many other brothers who received that degree from education. And to have a chance to do it, without going into student debt, because I believe restorative justice and education is the key to fighting recidivism, because it's been proven statistically, number-wise, by empirical evidence that those who leave with even some form of higher education do not recidivate.
Absolutely.
And those who leave with degrees definitely don't. And that's from Bard Initiative, Emerson, Tufts, whatever college program it is. And you see a slew of college programs coming up throughout the nation. More and more is being acceptable. You hear about them more and more. That's a beautiful thing. Because if instead of spending $70,000 a year to incarcerate me, how about you sentence me to Yale? Or sentence me to NYU, sentence me to Tufts or Emerson College. Do 4 years there. We'll spend that $100,000 a year there. I guarantee you that brother won't commit another crime, or if he was, he'll be in a better position. Because most of us who are in these streets, as you see, most of us don't want to be out there.
Right.
Most of us can't see past the day. I work every day in the ghettos, the so-called ghettos and hoods of Boston, in my job at Roca. We deal with the highest risk city youth, the so-called youth that other organizations want to deal with. We deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
These are kids, confused, frightened,
Sure.
and just want to be loved.
Yeah.
I take them out of Boston, the kids come right out of them. Nobody should be hardened at that age. I know I lived it, and this is why I do what I do. So I believe in education, institutional education. 100%. I'm a product of it, so I can't. But I'm also a product of what this brother on the phone right now is talking about. I mean, understanding. You have to understand your open enemy, and America has been our enemy, unfortunately, for years. In some instances, still is. You know what I mean? To the point where COINTEL deliberately killed our leaders on purpose.
Absolutely.
Because they feared us.
Absolutely.
So yes, brother, we could get our contact info. I'm in the community. I'm community organizing. I work with state and city leaders on a regular basis. I mean, the city and state recently gave me an award for the work I do in Boston as well as throughout the state. It was a surprise. It was very much appreciated. I don't do it for the accolades, but it also feels good to be recognized for the work you do. And I continue to do it. I wake up every day invigorated. I don't have a bad day, Hobbs.
Amen.
I wake up every day because I wake up every day to change lives.
Yes, sir.
It makes me happy to give of myself. You know what I mean? And that's what I say when I'm a humble servant. I really mean it. Every hat I wear is me giving of myself.
Yes,
Not
sir.
foolishly, but intentionally.
Amen. 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 Thank you, Jamal. Anything else you wanted to add or share?
Nah, that's it, brother. Peace.
I look
Appreciate
forward
you,
to meeting you, Jamal.
All right. Peace.
Peace, brother.
Peace.
Yeah, man. So again, this a lot of work we got to do. The 3/5. Now there was another initiative and that you wanted to talk about. It was at the very thing. You had sent me a little flyer.
Oh, that's a webinar that No Longer 3/5 is having this Thursday.
Okay.
That's a webinar, I believe. Restore the Vote.
Yes.
Yes, that's No Longer 3/5. We're holding the Maybe you see that logo. We're holding the webinar Thursday, July 27th from 7 o'clock to 8:30 p.m. And you can send that out
Yes,
to them.
yes.
They can QR code it and get all the information when they want. I believe I sent it to you.
You did. You
They
did.
can QR code it to your population. You can come on and you learn more what next steps, because we're at that phase where we're about to gear up for signature collection. You know what I mean?
Outstanding.
But other than that, Motivational Dreamers, we can dive into
Yeah,
that.
talk about that.
Motivational Dreamers is a public speaking company that I started. And like I told you earlier, I always knew I had the gift of communication.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that communication is the gift of articulation.
Yes.
And when you're in them positions, whether it's corporate America or in the street, you have to be able to communicate. Definitely in the street, because the consequences is more than just your bottom line. You know what I mean? So I've learned and I've honed. I have a gift of leadership, and I always took an interest. So I used to read a lot of books on leadership, studying old leaders fall, dictatorships. What went wrong? What did they do right? Why did they fall? I always had an interest in that. And all my life I've been in leadership positions. Whether it's amongst my crew growing up, whether when I got locked up in New York, I went to a military style program. I ended up being the guide, the platoon leader. Then I ended up being, shift. Not the platoon leader. I ultimately became the platoon leader. But they got ranks, 4 ranks. I became a rank leader, and I became a platoon leader. Even in Boy Scout, I was a leader. I was only there for like 2 months, a month or something like that. And then amongst my crew, all my life I've been, and I didn't ask for that.
Yeah, so
It's
God
just,
made you.
it was maybe that's the way God made. Maybe I look at that now.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the way God made me. But my definition, understanding of leadership has changed.
Yes.
I understand now to lead means really to serve.
Absolutely.
I didn't understand that then.
Absolutely.
10 years ago, you asked me how to lead, mean do what I say. Or
Right.
else. I mean,
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's not leadership. That is a form of leadership, but it's a very short-lived one.
Absolutely.
I can tell you that.
Absolutely.
I can tell you many historical examples of do what I say or else.
Or
and
else.
it never lasts.
Never
It's called
lasts.
dictatorship.
Yeah.
And look at all of them. What happened to them? Their own people crucified them eventually.
Absolutely.
So, I started Motivational Dreamers because my dream is to be on the biggest stages and touch the hearts of millions of people.
Absolutely.
And that's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came home, I started speaking. I spoke in some large state, Harvard, MIT, Tufts University, Emerson, Brandeis, and so many other universities I've talked to and organizations. And once I started seeing it take it off, I said, wow, I really want to take this show on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I formed Motivational Dreamers, LLC, and it's a public speaking. It's going to be a public speaking in the consulting company.
Mm-hmm.
So I have WCD. Shout out to Willeen Dunn in Texas, who's going to represent me. I've made my mind up. They're going to represent me. They represent some great talents throughout the nation. They're going to be my booking agency. I'm in talks with this PR company to do my press and do my media tours and all that. And it's primitive, but it's early stages. But I got a book situation in deal. I'm supposed to be there writing my first 2 chapters now. Instead, I'm here. But
Oh, wow.
they'll understand sacrifices. I'm going straight home from here to get busy for at least 2 hours. I'm going to write, and then I'm going to call it a night. So I'm going to write an autobiography book and a self-help book, probably on leadership or goal setting and prioritizing success. And I want to take that on the road with me. So I'm gearing up for a nationwide launch as we speak of my company and me and my brand, Motivational Dreamers. And I want to build a platform that can help others, whether you're formerly incarcerated or not. If you're a speaker, a talented speaker, because I'm going to brand the hell out my brand. And I want it to the point where organizations nationwide, they don't have to look for a speaker. They know we could just call them Motivational Dreamers. They'll provide us what we want. So I have my vision for my company is to have a bunch of speakers under my umbrella. So you may be a tech guy, expert on tech. You may be an expert on criminal justice. You may be an expert on reentry. You may be an expert on love or mindful meditation or positive thinking. And on a contractual basis, because you don't have to do nothing, we manage you basically. So if I send you if I say, Hobbs, I need you to go do this Christian thing, they're going to give me $20,000 for you to speak. I get 30. Motivation Dreamers get 30% of it. It's a win-win for you because you get you don't do there's nothing but you who you are. Right. And I'm just flying you out. You get to go vacation in Cali. Well, you do this Christian convention and you get paid. You come back. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invest in branding and I'm going to get a bunch of that's my vision for Motivational Dreamers and do consulting. And I have a little merchandise I plan to give to the kids. I'm designing myself, and that's my dream. And I want to monetize my dream because I want to give back. I want to be in a position to give back.
It's beautiful.
I want to be a spiritual leader.
That's beautiful.
A spiritual leader and a spiritual entrepreneur, as we call it.
So with literally 3 minutes, we got this is just the beginning, but you already know this, right?
Definitely.
So, but with 3 minutes left, for those who might want to support you that vision that you have, to be in any way, shape, or form, what's the best way for someone to be able to contact you and or the work that you're doing? Right.
Right. I have all my websites currently being built as we speak. Hopefully they'll be up in a couple weeks. But if you want me, my email is davidbaxter921@gmail.com. That's David, David, Baxter, Baxter, 921@gmail.com. I check my email several times a day. And if you want to get in community work, you call me. If you want to book me for speaking gigs, you call me. And I speak anywhere from leadership strategies to goal setting and positive thinking to just motivational speaking. I did a TED Talk. That was one of my highlights of my life. I've been a fan of TED for well over 12 years. To grace the world's biggest stage was monumental for me and a blessing from him above. It can't be a blessing for nobody else. So, I'm a little deep in my faith at this phase in my life, man. I don't really try to name something. I don't know what it is, but I know there's a higher power guiding me. I would be selfish to say this gift and talent that I have is my own. No, I don't think so. So I'm not that arrogant. I'm not that arrogant. So you can call me. Hit me, email me. I respond, and we can link up. If you need me to support something you're doing, come speak somewhere. We can work that out. And I'm just, like I said, I'm here to humbly serve it. Whether it be youth, colleges, organizations, I'm here to come through and give my gift to that space. And if you want to give your time and talent to a noble cause like No Longer 3/5, you can also email me at that. I will set it up, get you on board you, and you can hop right in. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a seasoned organizer. No. It's simple arithmetic. 1 + 1 = 2. We need boots on ground. Mm-hmm. Young, old, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, whatever you are, we need you, because those brothers behind the wall, I am a reflection of them, and they are a reflection of me. They need to have the ability to vote. I can't stress how important that is. The vote is the emblem of our democracy.
Absolutely.
And it's always been about power and who yields it. Mm-hmm. That's why they tried to take it so much. Mm-hmm. Just for the record, women couldn't vote until the 1900s, 1920 to be exact. Mm-hmm. That women's suffrage was over almost a century-long fight. Mm-hmm. Them women are vicious. Mm-hmm. When I tell you, if you ever go look that up. So if everybody said they gave the women a right, please correct your tone of voice. They didn't give them women nothing. Come on. Man, listen, Ida B. Wells, Cat, I can name them. There's wonderful documentaries. Them women are forced to reckon with. And they did not give up. I pray I have the perseverance. A fraction of what they had.
Come on, brother.
Generations took. The people who started didn't even live to see the final. Man, don't even get me
started. Come on, brother. Come on.
That does something to me when I watch that, man.
Listen.
Them women.
Listen. David Baxter, brother, thank you so much for your time, man. We're inspired, we're encouraged, we're humbled and honored to connect with you, and looking forward to building with you. We're here, Healing Our Land, Boston Praise. We're here, and again, I want to thank our listening and our viewing audience for being with us, and we will be back, if God said the same, Tuesday. Go ahead.
And I just want to shout out my big brother Mac again. I want to thank Pastor Hobbs for having me. I want to shout out all my Emerson College friends and faculty and Emerson Prison Initiative, man, for being a part of this journey, man. I cannot stress that enough. College behind bars, higher education in prison is the route to go, man, and I am a strong advocate of that.
Absolutely.
It is a proven, and they know that, it is a proven way to fight true recidivism. And just want to thank all those who are out there building these college programs for those behind the wall to come home and have a better chance at life. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother David Baxter. Thank you. We got to go, family. We'll see you, if God said the same, Tuesday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 6, and Sunday, 7 to 9. God bless you. Good night.